Now it's time for Speaking of Schmoedown, the show with a name too good to cancel.
Hey everybody, welcome to Speaking of Schmoedown, a show devoted to the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. I am Jay Wade, catching up on a couple weeks worth of matches here. Going to have a chat about those matches, and here once again to help me out, we have got ASG in the house. ASG, sir, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Not too bad, man. How to get out of town and get away from life for a week, and I feel refreshed and ready to go, man. Ready to go. We had let's jump right into it because we got a couple weeks worth of matches here. The first one is, of course, the pay-per-view match that kicked off the season. Great headlining match. But to start, that was Wild Berries making their return against Claudio Drew, which is their unofficial name. It's just what I like to say. And okay, let me say something here. Now off the I guess the relaunch episode last week that we dropped. My closing commentary, I talked a little bit more about how since we're moving away from the sports aspect, I am looking forward to getting back into the fun, silly side of things. And Wild Berries is exactly what I was talking about. I forgot how much I missed them, and I already missed them so very much. But when just their entrances, their vibes, dude, Makuga running around the studio, it's just it was so great and refreshing to see again. As far as that goes, in the reemergence of the Wild Berries, what were your thoughts on that?
To me, the Wild Berries have always had like almost like a jock vibe that I'm not like the biggest fan of. I was more the nerd in school, so they're I'm not. I guess for everybody, not everybody's a big party animal, but it was enjoy. For those who like them, they were definitely in their 100% Wild Berry selves on that match.
Yeah, definitely the chemistry was never lost. It's always remained there behind the scenes. Now with the new team, with Claudia Drew,
Claudia
see,
Dolphin
also,
Video Drew.
I tried to actually do it right, to be technical about it, but I can't, dude. Claudio Drew, it's just easier for me. I was interested to see their chemistry and how they work together, not only from a character aspect, but especially from the competition aspect. As far as both, I would say that if anyone, I don't know, but if anyone has formed any opinions as to whether or not this test team should stay together or not, you've made a hasty decision. Definitely, I want to see more out of them before a decision is made as to whether or not they stay together or seek elsewhere. Um, but I gotta say, man, as far as their gameplay, I liked what I saw. They were a lot of moments where they clicked well, I thought. I and nothing against Wild Bears, but we're just talking about their crazy frat boy mentality. And it's been a while, dude, since they've been together. I wasn't sure if they would click like they did. I was surprised that they won that match, dude. Am I crazy?
I mean, I picked Video Drew and Claudia Dolph. I mean, the Wildberries certainly found their wheelhouse in round two, found their wheelhouse in the 5-pointer, and that's the way the game goes sometimes. Now, as for Video Drew and Claudia Dolph, I consider Video Drew more of a Lon Harris type player that I want to see as like a person who's not just a fun player, but a player that can partner with, let's say, somebody who's had a belt before and go on a championship run. So I'm not as much wanting her to stay with Claudia Dolph, but in terms of them as like Claudia playing like the spirit of Tom or whatever, that worked. So on the character aspect, I'm for it. On the team aspect, I want better things for Video Drew, I guess.
Right. Well, I'm still a big fan of Looney Bin, and
Yeah.
that would be my dream if somehow Tom could work his way back in here this season, and I could see that. I could see that an amazing dark entrance, and he just just thinking about it now, dude. But yeah, that was a great match, dude. I thought it was a lot of fun. That's the kind of fun that I had missed. I mean, I love sports, and I loved the sports era there for a couple seasons, like the heavy leaning into sports. But yeah, man, this reminds me of the way it was when I first discovered it, just the really loose, fun, crazy aspect of it. That was really cool. Although I do want to say one thing though, the color schemes that they have for the background and everything like that. Now, before I say this, I am colorblind. So that might be why it's messing with me a little bit, but it's odd to my eye. And I don't know if that's just me, because like I said, I'm colorblind, but it's I mean, everything definitely pops. That's for sure. But I don't know. I noticed that during one of the matches. I was like, and that is odd, the background color, whatever it is. But like I said, I'm in a different class there. So
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. To me, it's I said this to you in private chat before. It's like some combination of like Miami Vice and 90s game show, which I'm not sure what a modern studio looks like, but this just feels like from a certain era that some people, including myself, love. So I'm cool with the retro vibes. So
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
And when you said Miami Vice, I instantly was like, dude, you're right. And I liked it. I was, because then, of course, well, not of course, but if you're my mind, I instantly then went to Vice City,
yeah,
the
not even more so than Miami Vice is the
yeah,
GTA. Yeah,
yeah. Then I'm in GTA mode, riding around on the crotch rocket with the ninja sword, and it's awesome. I miss that so much. But yes, that was a great match. I enjoyed that. And then we kick the fun level up a notch, dude. We get to the main event, which was Smets versus Shondrew. This one, I was definitely leaning towards Smets. I mean, he's ready to go, dude. You know what I mean? In the back of my mind, though, I was not discounting Shondrew at all. But man, this was just such a close match, dude. It was such a good, fun match. And I forgot for a moment that Smets can act as well as edit and compete in Schmoedown and all of the many other talents that he has. Because I was sitting there like, dude, like he's seriously rattled. I mean, I was in that mode for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm like he is legit rattled right now. Like, what the is going
yeah,
on? And then I was like, wait a minute, dude. Jay, get focused, man. Get focused. This is where we're at, and it was awesome. And
yeah.
he,
I know another show already mentioned this,
well,
but even after he won, to be able to in that winning thing right after he won, to hit that mark immediately and start immediately talking about how he was rattled with Roxy right from there, like it just shows how on point he is on those kind of things.
oh yeah, for sure. And I might need to. I may need to retract a statement, a theory that I put out there many times last season, when I was so adamant that Shondrew's strength and power and knowledge came from his hair, because his hair is so crazy long now, and he just lately, man, he's just been in a slump, which happens, dude. We all know that slumps happen, and I definitely believe he'll come out of it. But now I'm wondering, maybe we should cut the hair and see what happens. I don't know. I may have been wrong about his power coming from the hair.
Well,
I
he was beating Smets going into he was a 5 pointer away from winning that match. So I
uh,
think the hair was doing all it could.
yeah, yeah, but it just wasn't enough. But
Yeah.
the Loki costume was so great, and it suited him so well. That was just awesome, dude.
And before we go on to the next match, I just wanted to say that we will not be covering Shondrew's challenge on my segment because I think that was just we're down to the last couple of questions, use it or lose it. Here's some idea of a challenge. I don't think he really thought that he was going to win that one.
No, I agree. Sometimes you just got to throw it out there to rattle them. It's like throwing over to first, holding the player on to first, man. Just keeping them.
Yeah, not just rattle, but you never know when the challenge might go in your favor, even if you don't.
That is very
crazier
true.
things have happened.
That is true. Was there anything specific from this match? Any in particular question? Any moment that really stuck out in your mind that you absolutely enjoyed?
Well, I mean, that last 5-pointer, that was a tough casting question. Everybody I spoke to that knew the answer, which was only a few people, somehow knew it because of Star Wars. They knew that, Porkins, I guess this guy played Porkins and was also in Raiders, and therefore they knew that he was in Raiders to know that that was the movie. But so yeah, that would be the question that I really ranked for me.
Yep. Hell yeah, man. Overall, this entire pay-per-view, I was completely satisfied with it. So very much. And then I was looking forward to the Titans because I was interested in seeing how it was going to work. And after hearing how the new Patreon is working and the matches and just after hearing about everything, and mind you guys, while I'm getting this information, I'm on vacation. And like I really, dude, let's be real. I should have turned everything off and not tried to keep up with anything, but I had to know what was going on, at least on the most what would it be? Don't tell me, is it rudimentary level? Is that correct?
That's correct. But before you go on to Titans, I just want to get your opinion. What do you think of Sam coming out of retirement?
Oh my, okay. When he first retired, I was like, he's playing this season, at least one match for some special, it's a
Maybe
very
come out in the free for all or something.
fun thing. But to hear that, oh man, woo, dude, you just got my heart racing with that one, dude, because I'm just such a huge fan of his. And then, and then you think about, because he ain't gonna be managed by nobody. He's gonna manage himself. So you've got his amazing managing mind, and he is playing, dude. He is gonna be holding a belt for sure this season, dude. 100%. That's my opinion, dude. I'm so fucking excited now, dude, that you brought that up. It had been kind of tucked in the back of my mind, man. But like that gets me going, dude. I love it. What do you think? You think he's gonna
Well, I just want to say for our listeners, I did not know he was coming with that reaction just by feeding him that question. So
it completely flipped my mind, like the forefront of my mind, dude. That was But
I mean, I've been always a huge Sam Levine fan. We have some similar background. I'll leave it at that. And so, I've always been a Sam fan. It'll be interesting to see how he does in the, what do you want to call this? The modern era. It's no longer that the best team around is the Patriots. Shazam is a huge step up. And same thing in singles. So it'll be interesting to see how well or not well Sam can handle the new level of where you need to be.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm glad you reminded me of that, dude. That's awesome, dude. And I was surprised that he was the revealed as the Schmoedown too. I mean, there was also that reveal, which was crazy insane for me. I was like, what? Dude, it was Levine the whole fucking time. So good. Not at all the direction I was thinking. And there were a lot of theories that I was down for from last season that I really enjoyed, mainly the five, the handprint being on the brick wall behind Guy when he was outside the Skybound Studios and all that. I thought that was really cool. I was convinced it had something to do with Roker and the Five Horsemen, but that was a great reveal as well. But yeah, another
Sorry,
great.
just to
Oh,
go
go
on
ahead.
to that though, I'm not a wrestling guy, so maybe that's part of it, but I like some more logic or whatever in my storylines. So him being the Showmanati, fine, this, that, but then I was like, wait a minute, didn't Skybound and Robert Kirkman hire Grace? How is Sam and the Shmominati involved in being able to fire her? Whatever, I guess it is what it is, but to me, that's just like, wait, I thought this was this, not this.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you just got to go with it, man.
Exactly.
Something else that was a surprise to me was the opening match for the Titans. I For whatever reason, it just never occurred to me that Doug Benson would play again this season, even as a free agent. It never occurred to me. I don't know why, because he did pretty damn good last season. But that was awesome. And then he had the long hair, and it was. I
Yeah.
was like, dude, when he announced him, I'm like, no way.
Yeah, I thought he would play, but I thought it would be at a spectacular or a live match, something where you could get like a crowd to also see Doug Benson. So
Right.
I was not prepared for it at all either.
Yeah, well, maybe that goes to show how much he enjoys playing it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, but as much as I enjoy Doug Benson, the Den, Jen Kemp coming out representing for the Den, that was a lot of fun. I loved her hat. That was cool. And she's got a good sense of humor, man.
Oh yeah,
She's
for sure. I love Jen Kemp.
Yeah, yeah. I was like,
I thought she's had some of the best videos and stuff leading up to matches in like last year and the year before. I loved how last year she brought out the Dungeons and Dragons dice, which she bring out again for her round 3. What's it called? Question numbers. So that was great. She's I don't know about her being a quote unquote heel, but in terms of personality, love her.
Yeah. And she played a great freaking match too. They both did. In my mind isn't as technically inclined as yours to remember specific moments and things like that. Were there, again, same thing I asked with the previous match with Smets and Shondrew, was there anything specific that you noticed that stood out in your mind in this match?
I guess what stood out to me was I laughed and agreed, or maybe I'm not allowed to say that because I am a guy, with her comment of all those white women look the same, blondes look the same to her.
Yeah.
For her question was, who is the wife in Shutter Island? I
Mm-hmm.
think, and that I've seen that movie. That actress is not very prominent in that movie, so great pull by Jen and that helped him. That helped her get the win. And what stood out to me as a question, actually, and Benson kind of mentioned that in his post game, was that Doug Benson. I listened to his podcast, and for months during the trailers and when the movie came out, Benson loved yelling, "Tell the truth," to his competitors and whatever on Doug Loves Movies. So the fact that the answer to the Will Smith movie question was concussion and he got it wrong was just hilarious because he loves quoting that one quote that's in the trailer so much.
Well, his competing nickname suits him well.
Yep.
Um, uh, Now, the JTE being picked up by Adam Witt, I loved it so much. I mean, if ever there's a fan favorite, JT is definitely one of them. I mean, for fuck's sake, dude, he's got a rule named after him, and for the most hilarious reasons. But the kid is the kid. You know what I mean? And It was a very odd challenge, but I get it. I get it, man. I get exactly where JTE was coming from. And
Oh yeah, where Adam Witt's coming from as well. And
yeah,
that's the reason that's the other reason why I'm not covering that one on my segment is this one is so subjective of what defines gangster. Like gangster people associate with mobsters, but that doesn't have to be what a gangster is. The same way part of that question was also aquarium. Aquarium is a fish tank. It's not just a large place where you go see a ton of fish. It's also a fish tank. So just because you normally think one word, one definition of one word doesn't mean there isn't alternate definitions. So since that was that kind of challenge, I'm not going to cover it in my technical difficulties section, but it is a great challenge by Adam Witt. Once again, you're at the last question where once you get it wrong, you lose. You don't get to take that challenge with you. Might as well challenge it. And that was an interesting challenge to make, even though it didn't work out for them.
Yeah. And so far as thinking outside the box and making like really great challenges and stuff like that, in my mind, Adam Witt is the second best that I've seen so far with Sam Levine. I think Sam Levine has the so far the greatest technical and outside the box thinking mind of all managers in the history of the Schmoedown so far. That's just my opinion. So
Okay, in my opinion, Adam Witt's already over that. Between this challenge and the challenge in the Bateman versus Irwin match that he succeeded in with the pause of the movies, I think those have been great outside the box challenges that I have not seen from any other manager, including Sam Levine. But yeah,
you're right, man. You're right. You're right. You're right. That pause challenge. You're right. You're right. Adam Witt is number one. Sam Levine was been knocked down to number two. Um, that was amazing, and he was right, and it made perfect sense. Man, such a
now for
great
the fan favorites, do you think it's a sarcastic fan favorites or is there a serious fan favorites? Because JT has always, like when he was on the Patriots, he was a heel. The way he's dressed is not how a face would be dressed. Let's just say
right.
that. So, is it a sarcastic fan favorites or is it a fans do actually love JTE? I would agree, but not everybody agrees. So, I'm curious your thoughts on that.
I would say it's okay. The and not this is not a shot, but I'm thinking back to the old Kathy Griffin show, Life on the D List or whatever that was. I would say fan favorites are a D list of favorites. They are very well loved by a big pocket of the community, and then very well liked by pretty much everybody. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
not like and like I said, that's not a knock on them. And we are talking, for me at least, I'm talking on the character side of things.
Yes,
You know,
exactly. That's why I was
um,
asking on the
yeah,
character side of things as
yeah.
well.
That's kind of how I look at it. Like fan favorites is life on the D list kind of a thing. Yes, they are very much loved and appreciated, but they're not they're not up there at the Dan Murrell standards. You know what I mean?
So, now that things are the way they are, I'm going to pretend like I didn't see a certain picture tweeted out beforehand and say I would love to see a team of JTE and Andraco to just have Snyder's former partners as a team. Now, I know that's not at least how it's going to start off, but I think that would be kind of a nice combination of history there.
Yes, that would be good. That would be good. And I would not put that past Witt or Harloff for that matter. But I would not put that past them. And let me say also, concerning Adam Witt, not too bad from a boy from Ohio. Here's another boy from Ohio, actually. Grew up about 20 minutes away from Mr. Adam Witt. So, yeah. Chew on that. Ohio. What up?
That was
Uh,
a great interview with Adam Witt you had there. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out.
Thank you. It was awesome. It was an hour and a half, and I mean, it was like It was literally us, dude. At one point, we talked about roads that we both were familiar with, like, and try, like, what was the name of that one road that was out there by the town, and it went to, I mean, so it's one of those kind of like we knew and had been to the same places growing up and shit. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, check that out. It's on From Birth to Schmoedown is the name of the show. There's a list on this channel you can find there, a playlist. But then, yeah, the kid though, I mean, he just went in there and wrecked it, dude. TKO victory. I love his trash talk because I mean, it's not really trash talk because he's like he's being sincere and very polite, but like it's trash talk, dude, and it's
Oh yeah.
really so good, man, so good. And every time I see Bibbs reminds me of my cousin. The mentality, the way they carry themselves, the humor. So I always love seeing Bibbs too. But the kid, dude, hell of a match by him as well. I wonder when. I don't know. I wonder when JTE is going to end up playing. Ah, yeah, that happens. It goes in and out, man. Comes
Okay.
with old age. I'll be 43 here
But
soon.
I do agree with you. The kid's trash talk reminds me of before he was, because I guess he's a heel now, but before he was a heel, Irwin last year would throw in these little jabs that went pretty unnoticed by some, where like he'd be playing Roka and they'd get to the final round, and he'd be like, "Good job, you made it to the last round this time." And like those kind of comments that reminds me of similar to places where the kid's going with his trash talk.
Yeah, yeah. And we did find out a little bit more. You brought up Irwin, that Janine approached him with a deal to get Time Machine back together. How did that go over?
So for me, in my opinion of storyline, it would make more sense for Ethan to betray Liz because they were the team, and this was just an offer that Janine kind of made of like, you want to do this, sure. However, if you look at the tournament last year, Janine made it to, I want to say, the semifinals, and Ethan won the belt and then lost it, so he's on his title path. So it makes sense for them to have a match that might lead to a number one contender match coming up. So it made sense to have Ethan now play Janine next week instead of be playing Liz if they went with the same storyline, but with him betraying Liz instead of a Janine.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think of the stars so far? Like as far as the group that Roxy has collected.
I think Ethan needs to win this match. The Stars can't sign two players that then start off their season with a loss. It would deflate the whole where Roxy's going with this storyline. And I'm not sure how many more heels she has on the roster that are left to sign that aren't somewhere else. And that will also be interesting to see what her next signings can be now that she has the most full heel faction, I'd say, out there right now.
Yeah. And let me ask you one final question before we move on to technical difficulties. Um, what do you think the chances are that Jericho comes back to the Stars this season?
I think Jericho coming back to the Stars would be very similar to Kevin Smith coming to the Mercs, where Roxy will be on hand as manager if need be, but not an official roster spot of the faction. That's my thought until told otherwise.
I've got a theory. Because Jericho was not happy about how last season he was not happy with Roxy. Um I think he's going to go free agent and he does not want to have anything to do with Roxy. I think he's done with Roxy and I think his only desire will be to take out and destroy the Stars.
We'll see where if Jericho plays a match where he goes with that. it sounded like he was upset being drafted by Kaiser and said only Roxy would be his manager. And then Roxy technically did sign Jericho for the second half of last year. So I think he does want her as his manager. And we still don't know if he'll ever play again in the Schmoedown.
Yeah, he might not. He might not. I would, I was thinking Jericho might be upset that Roxy didn't make sure that she got him. You know what I mean? With them being close and him only coming in the first place because of Roxy. I was thinking maybe he would be upset that she didn't ensure that she kept him. You know, he was drafted it by Kaiser, yeah, and Roxy got him back, but maybe he was salty that he was even in a position where he could be drafted by someone and not go directly back to Roxy. That's kind of what I'm hoping happens. The approach.
Well, I guess that depends on the "I'll only play for Roxy," how much that was kayfabe, because
True.
he seemed to really not want to play for Kaiser in
Yeah.
real life.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think he does if he won't that he has some kind of relationship with Roxy, that he only wants to be there if Roxy's involved. Maybe I don't know what kind of what kind of friendship they have, off the camera.
Yeah. Hmm. Maybe Jericho knows that he can only play a match or two later in the season. Like he knows his schedule that well in advance. So Roxy, by the time that comes, Roxy will round out her faction and leaving Jericho in the cold, and he'll be like, "Dude, we talked about this. You were going to leave an open spot for me to come back when my schedule permitted, and you just completely, shut me out." And then he goes after the rock stars. I'm hooked on that. Like I want to see him go solo and go after the entire faction of the stars. I just think that would be so amazingly cool.
Well, I'm more of a sports guy, and I'm more of a whatever. I'm good without seeing Jericho ever again in the Schmoedown. So
Fair play, man. Fair play. Okay, that will do it for our match discussion. We're going to kick it over now to ASG's technical difficulties.
So before we get into my technical difficulties segment for the week, I just wanted to talk about things that aren't public to the public right now. And that specifically is the IG movie list as well as the rulebook. When it comes to the IG movie list, I think this is an important thing for the public to have. You talk about Star Wars. What is the Star Wars division? It's the Star Wars movies, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Go to singles and teams. All movies, pretty
Yeah.
much, that are in theaters. IG. If I can't define IG to say what exactly is IG, I should at least be able to say, here's the movies that constitute IG. And it's not just comic book movies now, and it's not just Lord of the Rings movies, so you can't even use that. We even had a circumstance at the end of last year where a competitor didn't know that a certain movie was eligible, and that may have affected the match. And if that IG list was on the internet, always updated, then they would know what movies are and aren't on there, and that wouldn't have even been a question. Same thing with the rulebook to the public. I know this is supposed to be more of a fun season, but if there's gonna be a rulebook, there's no reason why the public shouldn't know all the rules. If I'm a new member of the public who just watched, let's say, Jen Kemp versus Doug Benson, I look at the few rules that they list over there. Then all of a sudden, Jen Kemp's talking about getting a repeat of the multiple choice options. That's not up there. Where did this rule come from? And those should be also clearly listed somewhere for some where everybody can see. And that includes the new rules that we heard about that Bibiani spoke of on the rundown. And this came up in the Video Drew and Claudia Dolph versus Wildberries match. Going into the 3-pointer, I believe Video Drew needed to hit this 3-pointer to take the lead against the Wildberries, so that they would have to hit their 5-pointer in order to win. This was Video Drew's 3-pointer.
Number 4, which is going to take them to the wonderful world of scores and soundtracks.
Oh, fun.
Video Drew, for your 3-point question.
Uh-huh.
And to steal back that lead.
Oh, sure.
Guns N' Roses performed the song You Could Be Mine on the soundtrack of what blockbuster from director James Cameron?
Probably not Titanic.
Guns N' Roses played at the end when the ship was going.
Ship's going down.
It was Guns N' Roses.
Seems
Shush, shush,
appropriate.
shush. I know it's not that.
4, 3.
Repeat?
Okay, it's their
that.
first one, I believe.
For 3 points in the category of scores and soundtracks, Guns N' Roses performed the song You Could Be Mine on the soundtrack of what blockbuster from director James Cameron?
T2?
We need the full name of the
Or
film.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day?
That is correct.
Wow.
3
Wow.
points, a great grab, and I know you're happy about Guns N' Roses.
As you can see there, and I haven't seen many people bring this up, but there was a couple of seconds after Video Drew gave her answer where there was a pause between T2, and then you hear Mark say, I need the full title. Now, what do you think of that, Jay? Should competitors be prompted for the full title, or is it just if they say Terminator 2, then you didn't give the full title? Because that sounds like, I mean, in my opinion, and the opinion of like what I've seen in, I mean, the rulebook just says like what they're looking for. It doesn't say if, they can fully clarify a full answer. Now, do you think with this going to more fun that they should be allowed to give this prompt, or do you think that whatever their answer is, if they don't say the full title, then they should just be put wrong then?
Yeah, there should be no prompts allowed. I mean, it's in this. Excuse me. This has nothing to do with sports. Sports aspect. This has to do with trivia. Like, I mean, you could take like pub trivia, Dragon Con, any kind of trivia whatsoever. Just a board game in your house. The answer is the answer. And if you give the wrong answer, then you gave the wrong answer. And especially with officials prompting someone, officials are there to make sure that the game is played within the rules. They're not there to assist in any way. And that's in that situation, that was an assist by an official, and I don't think that should fly. No, it is what it is. I hope that it's not, it doesn't become a precedent, as they like to say, setting a precedent. But that goes back to the rule book thing, and I want to say real quick about the rule book bit not being out there. Yes, I have a whole lot of feelings about why it should be, but my biggest reason is actually trying and thinking of Christian himself, because I know from personal experience that Christian isn't happy sometimes when people make statements and claim things, and he's told me before, like, you don't know what happened behind the scenes, you don't know this, you don't know that, which is fair. That is 100% fair. I don't know those things. However, like I have said before, all we have to go off of is what they present us. And if what they present us is unclear, then we have every right in the world to question it. To be honest, we have every right in the world to question it, even if it is 100% transparent and clear. But in those situations where we don't have access to know this information, like, if we had the access, then we could go and look it up. We could not be a douchebag, which I've done before, and just go spouting off, this isn't right, this isn't kosher. I, for example, could then go look it up and then clarify it all for myself, and it either jives or it doesn't. But that's the importance of making it transparent. And if it were out there and it were open for everyone to see, then it would eliminate many of those situations that I believe just kind of those little annoyances for Christian and some of the other production and whatnot. Just if you can easily eliminate some of those things, then why not do it? Now, my thoughts as to the reasons why they like, why wouldn't you make it open to the public and transparent? I'm not going to get into those reasons.
And I'm not going to get into those reasons either, but I will say, because you mentioned a keyword or a key term, because I've heard Christians say and other people say many times that the Schmoedown isn't bar trivia, and part of bar trivia, at least where I am, is that they're a bit more lax on those kind of answers.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. If you say Terminator 2 instead of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, they're going to accept it. If you say, I hope you had the time of your life instead of Good Riddance, they'll accept it most of the time. Now, but the thing is, though, the Schmoedown is what they call, championship trivia. And for that, and Bibiani was very specific earlier this year about how this year they weren't even going to accept The Godfather 2 as opposed to The Godfather Part 2. And if you're going to get that specific, then you got to accept answers for the first answer given.
Yeah.
And so that's my feeling on that. I know, as I said, I haven't heard much feedback otherwise, so
if you don't mind, may I give one more analogy that just came to mind as far as the prompting of the players? Imagine if when a guy hits the ball and the runner's round in third, he comes in, he misses the plate. Imagine if the umpire were to point at the plate and tell the runner, "Hey, you got to step on the plate. You missed the plate." Really, imagine that, dude. They do not do that. That umpire will stand there and dust off his helmet and wait for the other team to get the ball to the catcher, step on the plate, and he'll call him out. It's just, that's, and I know I used a sports analogy, but I mean, it's more a competition kind of a thing, it's just, it's not cool to assist. Come on, guys. But we'll see, as long as it doesn't become precedent. And then another thing is on that, that one in particular, Makuga and, the Wildberries, they didn't challenge it, so they don't have a manager and they didn't challenge it. And so that falls on them as well.
for sure.
I don't believe it should have been prompted or counted because of that and all that. But that aside, it then falls on the team themselves, in this case, the Wildberries, to challenge that. And either they didn't think about it or they didn't care. But either way, it's done with now.
Well, that's my concern, and we'll see how it plays out over the rest of the year. But my concern is that when you have these fun matches, that the fun competitors aren't wanting to challenge because they think that makes things less fun if they do. So I think you can have fun, but still allow the rules to stay consistent and still be allowed to challenge things that you think weren't ruled correctly the first time. We'll see how it progresses as the season continues.
And now it's time for top threes with Euroschmo.
Hello, it's Liam and Ben from Euroschmo, and we are here for Euroschmo's top three. Now, this week we thought we would do the top 3 retired players of the Schmoedown based on the announcement we got this week of Sam Levine's retirement. Obviously, we came up with that idea before watching the pay-per-view because we know that's not quite how it panned out, but the idea was there, so we've got to stick with it. Just some clarification on this one. We are talking about players who are currently retired and not players who have retired in the past and come back. So we can't count Riley, we can't count Murrell. They have to still be retired today. And with that said, let's get underway and jump straight in with our number 3. And Ben, who do we have at number 3?
We have Jeff the Insnider Snyder.
Good pick. And why do we have that Jeff at number 3, Ben? What was your reasons?
He is one half of probably the second greatest team in the world, Patriots. He went all the way to a singles tournament. He was 2020's Player of the Year. So for that, I think we have to put him certainly up there. There are reasons why he was number 3 and not number 2 or number 1, but we'll get into that with our other picks.
Yeah, when we say Jeff, for me, the greatest teams player of all time, and that has to be taken into consideration when we talk about retired players. So he has to be on the list. We have reasons why he's not quite number 1 or 2, but as Ben said, we're going to allude to that in a minute. But greatest team players of all time. He had the longest run with the Patriots, and then he also came back and won with the Odd Couple. And he also had a really, really good run, winning, just losing to Collins in the singles tournament a couple years ago. He was Player of the Year that year as well. Great player, great personality, has to be on the list. Okay, number 2. Now this one is my favorite player of all time. I bet you can guess who it is. John Campion. No, I'm just Of course, we are talking about Rachel, the Crusher Cushion, Inner Geekdom Champion of the World, Teams Champion of the World, and my personal favorite player of all time. So she has to be on the list. She, for me, was very close to being number 1, but didn't quite make that slight leap up to number 1 for reasons we'll get to when we talk about number 1 player. But Ben, why is Rachel Cushion number 2?
I think she was even Rookie of the Year once. I don't know if you mentioned that, but
she was
definitely Rookie of the Year once. She's number 2 for me because she's part of the 3rd greatest team in the world. She basically innovated what Schmoedown became, was part of that innovating class of the Schmoedown era. And yeah, she's one of the best and married to one, or getting married to one of the best. And even without getting married to him, I think should still be the most requested retired player we have ever seen, and that puts her at number 2.
She's absolutely a fan favorite. Even now, when she comes back into scenes, people love to see her. And when we think of triple threat, I feel Rachel was the very first real triple threat, someone who had a genuine chance of winning belts in all 3 divisions. And so she paved the way for other players who then became triple threats, i.e. our Chance Ellisons, our Mikes. But she's the one that really started that and big, showed us what a triple threat could be. So we had Rachel at number 2, Jeff at number 3. Can you guess who our number 1 is?
Sam Levine.
Well, he was an honourable mention, and one other honourable mention was Clark Wolf. But when we discussed, we decided they weren't quite ready. And obviously, Sam, we can't put on there anymore for reasons that came up this week.
Wink, wink.
But our number 1 is, of course, John Roker. He, I know, shock. He is the epitome of what Schmoedown is. Not only did he have such a successful career, former singles champion, former teams champion, but he is the one that did the character work justice and showed what that can be. He paved the way for the Andrew Guys of the world, for the Chandrews. He was Hill. He's the first. I remember him saying, I need all the belts. That was iconic. That got me invested in Showdown. And obviously, he's the most recent retiree. Only last year retired. Current Yodi Award winner. He had a really emotional retirement match against Murrell, and I think the support and love he got showed just how much of a great player he was and how much of an asset to the league he was. So, Ben, why do you think Roker's number one?
He was, as you said, the innovator amongst all innovators when it came to the Schmoedown. He basically gave us heel work. He gave us all the belts, all the records. He gave us the 4 horsemen of the Schmoedown, which later became the 5 horsemen. But yeah, he is the heel amongst heel, the faces amongst faces. Yeah, that, and 2-time teams winner. I think 2 times. I think 2 times singles champion. You just have to give it to him there. He is one of, if not the best player.
Well, he
That's
is the
why he
only
got to go
person,
championship.
and one of the only people that's had a documentary made about him. I mean, that shows shows his influence on the Showdown. The Showdown would not be what it was today without John Roker. So just to go over, we have John Roker at number 1, Rachel the Crusher Cushion at number 2, and Jeff the Insnider Snyder at number 3. We hope you liked our picks. Let us know if you agree, disagree, and you can catch Euroschmo every 8 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. US time, Eastern. Is that right, Ben? On our YouTube channel.
PST.
Thank you so much. And we shall see you later. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Euroschmo, everyone. Thank those guys very much for their top 3s. Their first 2 segments here on Speaking of Schmoedown have been really cool. Enjoyed them very much. Okay, guys. Last week I closed out with a commentary. I'm going to do so again this week. I don't really have a lot to say. I am going to say that I'm very interested in seeing how this new format's going with the Friday Night Titans. When I first heard about it, I was kind of, I mean, I've never had any negative thoughts or anything or concerns, just like a dog tilting my head to the side, ears perked up, dude, like, huh? Because I mean, I'm so used to multiple matches per week, spread out through the week, But I understand what Christian's trying to do here. It's like a Raw, a SmackDown kind of a thing. It's one jam-packed weekly show, and I mean, I get it, and I have no complaints so far. I mean, we're only 2 weeks pretty much into the season here, so to have complaints now would be kind of stupid on my part, I think, for me at least, being as open-minded as I am about all this. But I'm really, I will admit, the pay-per-view, I was kind of like, last week's Friday Night Titans, I'm like, okay, I get it. And I'm digging it. So I'm looking forward to that. The other thing I want to say, and this is going to be it, is obviously noticed the difficulty of the questions has come down, and PJ he addressed all that, and I got no problems with it. I've said before that over the last 2 seasons, especially the level of the question writing was just so amazingly awesome that I quit playing along because there was no way I could get the answers. That is true. I loved it, though. I never had any complaints about it. And there's more than just the difficulty of the question. It was the order in which questions were asked, how this question related to the question that was just asked, and how it could confuse someone, and all that stuff. It was set up so awesome. I can play along again now. Some of the questions are very, very easy for me, at least. And I'm by no means highly knowledgeable or great at trivia. But I have noticed that the way the questions are written are very much different. There's a different feel to them. There's there's a different formula there, and I'm really enjoying that so far. The questions are on a level that is easier for average movie fans to play along with, but there's just so much more to the way the questions are written and asked. I don't know how this team does it, but like I did all last season, so far this season, kudos to you guys. It's just been amazing. It's been a lot of fun already so far. We're only 2 weeks in. So that'll do it for me, everyone, for this week of Speaking of Schmoedown. Thank you again to ASG as well as Euroschmo for their segments. And y'all know the drill, man. Till next week, everyone, have a great and safe night. You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.